for the Ministry of Communications and Information as well as Ministry of Health. And I'm also the Member of Parliament for Jurong GRC. I kind of like to exercise. So if I do have time, I like to spend time with my friends, and we're into like short runs and doing HIIT. So that's been something I've been, I suppose, trying to squeeze into my schedule. The other fun thing I like to do is to play with my son. He's 5 and his idea of play is very random. So it's constantly trying to get his attention and learn new songs and things that interest him. So that's just part of the things I do when I'm not working. I can't say there was like a singular event. I have actually been a volunteer for a large part of my life. I've been volunteering since I was 17 in many different organizations, firstly Malay Muslim organizations, youth organizations, and REACH at one point. So I think those gave me the opportunity to appreciate the diverse communities in Singapore better, and I was subsequently asked if I was going to be willing to be running for elections, and so that was something I agreed to after some consideration, and that was, I guess, the rest is history. I like the way you frame the question because I think there is an appreciation of the reality that Singapore faces. Balance is exactly what we need because the reality is Singapore is a small country and we need to remain attractive to multinational companies to want to actually embark on their business here. We want them to actually open spaces and opportunities for Singaporeans, provide meaningful jobs. We want our economy to be open. So that is one concern. But clearly one bigger and deeper concern we have is really the anxieties of Singaporeans, Singaporean workers. They clearly are the focus of our attention, and we want to make sure that they continue to strive, they continue to do well and have meaningful jobs. The challenge though is the world is fast changing and the economies are changing, and this is the reality we see not just in Singapore locally but also internationally. There is a lot of disruption and change is inevitable, and because of that we need to make sure that our workers, our Singaporeans, are ready and adaptable to those changes and can fit the new economy. So the best thing we can do is really to invest heavily in them and really provide them with necessary skills, with the necessary exposure to growth sectors, to provide them with the resources to continue upskilling and be able to evolve in their careers. So that's one thing that we are looking at. But of course, at the bigger landscape, the Emerging Stronger Task Force, for example, has been looking also as to what are some of the shifts that's affecting Singaporeans, and our Future Economy Council has taken in some of these recommendations to look at how we can implement some of these to ensure that our Singaporeans have meaningful jobs. So some of the things we're looking at is really looking at how we can transform the different sectors so that they remain relevant to the world stage and that our Singaporeans can tap on these opportunities. So that remains something that we have to keep doing, and as you say, to create that balance to make sure that we are an open economy that remains attractive. We also bring in good jobs and make sure that there is fair opportunities for our workers. As you can see, during the start of the pandemic, we were very concerned that there are some of these challenges that our Singaporean workers would be facing. So there were a few programs rolled out in the Skills Future Framework to actually allow for opportunities, match them with relevant career developmental programs, encouraging employers to actually latch on these programs, incentivizing them so that they would actually want to send their workers to these programs, creating a lot of awareness and buzz as well, which I think is very important. I think we need to continue in these efforts. We have come some way towards creating that space and opportunity, but sometimes it's really going into the resolution of the issues and appreciating what are some of the real challenges some of these workers are facing. If you have conversations with some of them, the challenge is really because they have to continue working, right? They have to earn their keep so that they can take care of their families. So how can we meaningfully create programs that they can still do and still continue to earn? We know of the anxieties of young people shifting to something that may be different from what they studied from. So allowing them to have some short-term opportunities, let them try out something different, have courses which introduces them to different sectors also helps. We also appreciate the anxieties of employers, having to commit to such a long-term long-term arrangement with employees. So we allow for work trials, so that it's a win-win. So you get to try out how it feels like, and also employers also get to have a taste. I mean, if that relationship works, then you then have the opportunity for long-term arrangements. So there were many different sort of modalities that were put in place to encourage shifting of mindsets, to encourage people to try out something new. But at the end of the day, it also requires efforts on the ground. I think people need to be willing to change their mindsets, and for that, some of our efforts working with the tripartite arrangement, I think works. We've worked with unions to make sure that they also continue to encourage the people under their care to upskill and send the right messages. We've worked with the employers, and of course government agencies also need to play a part in supporting this. So these are ongoing efforts which I hope will continue to create that new work culture. At the same time, I think things like, say, legislation to ensure that there's fair treatment, there's no discrimination at the workplaces, the tripartite guidelines are in place, but we're elevating some of these efforts so that we make sure that it's fair for employees. So I think in creating that work culture and workspace, hopefully this will continue incentivizing and encouraging workers in Singapore to continue to uplift themselves and continue to do better in their work. Clearly, climate change is one of the single biggest problem the world is facing. I think we're running against the clock, and we really need to intensify our efforts on this front. And so, all Singaporeans, and especially young people, play a very important role, because this is not an effort that we can do on our own. The government cannot do this on our own, and the people also cannot do this on their own. And we need everyone to really play a role in this. So I think what's important in our SG Green Plan is to encourage everyone, including young people, and especially young people, to be stewards of the nation, because they play an important role in shaping the future for Singapore. One of the key things really is that it goes back to each of us, right? Our own lifestyle. What can we do individually to change and to adjust our lifestyles for a better low carbon and ideally carbon free future? Choices that we make matter. So reducing our consumption perhaps, as well as also constantly thinking about the 3Rs, so recycling, reusing. I think these are things that we should bear in mind as we carry out our day-to-day living. Aside from that, I think young people, I've been very fascinated with my conversations with them, and they are clearly very eager to make change. One way to do so is really to work together with the community, because there are some existing infrastructure in place, like grassroots, some existing organizations. Maybe useful to see how you can collaborate and come up with ground up initiatives, even maybe with your neighbors, because really for some of these changes it needs to be made relevant to the day-to-day living. So if you talk about, say, certain things which do not resonate with people and they do not see how they can implement it in their lives, it becomes a bit more challenging. But if you learn about them, if you appreciate what some of the challenges are, and then to work together with them to achieve something sustainable, I think that could be very meaningful. And I think young people clearly would be interested to know that the government's investing quite a lot in looking at how we can build an ecosystem where the green economy can provide work opportunities. So this is also an area that I think is a blank canvas, and the opportunities for growth here. I think young people should keep a lookout for some of this and help enhance the ecosystem so that it's a win-win for all, and that we can together build a sustainable future in many different sectors, in our living environment, in food sustainability, and in our day-to-day habits and choices. So hopefully with this effort, we can encourage the whole of society, the whole of Singapore, to build on our existing efforts. I think the participants are now presented with an opportunity to learn, to actually have an insight as to some of the, I suppose, tricky or challenging issues that we face as a society, as a country. And I think it allows for them to learn about trade-offs, about different perspectives, and perhaps then also exercise a bit of judgment in addressing some issues. I hope they take advantage of this opportunity to learn, and also I guess build their interest in some current affairs issues, and it's something that they continue to build even after this program. But more than anything, I just want them to enjoy the process. I think this is an opportunity to build relationships, to ask a lot of questions, to make new friends, and to learn something meaningful. And I hope that this is something that they would enjoy. So make it as meaningful as possible. I've always felt that whatever you take away from an opportunity is how much you give in. So give your best ideas, be open, be inquisitive, and hopefully you'll learn a lot.